All right, so I'm Sarah Johnson. I'm a project coordinator with RefineM. Like I said, thank you for taking time to give us some feedback, and congratulations on passing your PMP exam. It's a huge accomplishment. We're so excited for all of you. So the goal for today is just to have a conversation about the PMP exam prep course with RefineM that you attended and just hear how your experience went overall. So we'll start with, what are your career goals and how does having your PMP help you achieve those goals?
I can tackle this one. So a big reason that our company had really emphasized the importance of finally getting our PMP is because what we do as a federal contractor, a lot of our contracts, the government is now requiring that we are PMP certified for us to be eligible to participate or support or take over a contract as the program manager or project manager. And so it's just a way to make sure that we individually can stay competitive in our field and that our company can also stay competitive in the field.
Awesome. Thank you. So our next question, how effective did you find the training in preparing for your exam?
You're both
sorry,
on
Corey,
mute.
you're on, Corey.
My mute quarter jar it's huge. So about 5 years ago, I had gone through a self-study CPU sort of PMP online class on my own, and had thought about taking the test and talked with friends about doing it, and then never done it. So for me, it was a great refresher to based off topics that I've had studied before, and that we are all project managers or program managers with our company, and a lot of the stuff we do in our daily lives, but maybe we don't know the right term or the right way to describe it. So it was very helpful in making sure that we were focused on the right terminology, the right phrases, and it just really helped to bring everything back to mind. I like that it was all combined into one class. When I had looked at doing it on my own previously, it would have been like every weekend, Saturday and Sunday for like a month. And I don't know if I've been able to. And so doing that, because all of us got our PMPs within probably 4 to 5 weeks of, I think was technically later than the other two, from the class completion. And so doing it differently and having to take the classes over a month and then studying, another month on top of that would have just made it take longer, and maybe it would have had more of a danger of, not getting the test completed. So I definitely liked the concentrated format of the class.
To piggyback on that, just to comment on Dan, I think we can all agree that sitting in class is normally not fun. I mean, I remember college and I didn't love it, but I think Dan, he helped keep us engaged, and the way he kind of related a lot of these scenarios to his real life experiences, I think actually it kind of helped keep us on task.
And at the end of the day, who knows if those stories were even real? But
We
believe them, So yeah, it was great examples, and he kept you engaged the entire time. So
excellent. Yeah, I'll let Dan know. And as far as I know, they're real.
Even if they're not, they were entertaining.
I'll accept them regardless. I don't care. It helped me.
Awesome. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how strongly would you recommend this course to someone else? 1 being you would not recommend it, and 10 being you would highly recommend it.
I would say a 9, only because I wish that it had been a 5-day course it started compounding toward the end of the class. And when he realized that it was a 4-day course instead of a 5-day, and he was like, okay, so we're going to get going. And so I wish that it could have been strewn out into a 5-day course. I know that it was our company's decision to do that, but I think, making sure that it was plotted out and that we were making milestones by like lunchtime, milestones by the end of day 1. That would have been a little bit helpful, but otherwise, I mean, the language, the lines of questioning, the examples, all of that was directly correlated with that exam, you know.
Yeah, that's great feedback. It's good to hear what students think about the 4 versus 5-day course.
Mhm.
How about you, Corey? How would you recommend this course to someone else?
Yeah, I would probably say the same, Catherine, where it would be a 9. Because yeah, the one thing I think that would have been, that I thought maybe was missing, would have been towards the end, being able to go through, you know, as a class, maybe we go through a 50 question test together, or something, to sort of really gauge, you know, collectively as a group, how we did and what our understanding was. To sort of mimic, okay, now we've taken what you've learned. I guess there was like the post assessment that we took, you know, on our own, but I think in class together would have been a good way to get like the live feedback from the instructor, like this is why it's wrong, this is why it's right. But I mean, it clearly worked because we all took it and then we passed our test.
Above target, baby. Yeah.
Yep, on all levels.
Mhm.
Awesome. Michael, you have anything else you want to add to that, or what score you would give?
Yeah, I would. I would probably agree with Kat and Corey. I'd say a 9 is about right, and basically I'll agree with everything they said. It was unfortunate on the last day that, you know, there's always like the retrospective at the end of every chapter where, you know, you are doing these questions, and that's really how I was learning. I think that's the way I think Corey was learning too. Maybe Catherine's the same way, but that we just didn't have any time to do any of those questions on the last day, which, you know, that I think that would have helped. So, but I'd give Dan a 10 and then give the course a 9. So
27 out of 30, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I've taught one of these before. I think 4 versus 5 day, there is a lot of material. I think some of the ones that are really long, the scope and the schedule particularly, sometimes you just kind of need a break after those sections alone. So yeah, it's definitely a hard balance to strike, but we'll be striving to improve on it going forward.
Yeah, and I guess if I could maybe to add one more thing to it. So we took we went through the online Agile course on our own beforehand, based off of the amount of the test that was Agile. I would think that maybe it could be better to incorporate that into the class so that it's not the self-study. Because then you don't have the interaction with the instructor, you know, if you have questions and whatnot. Because I was kind of shocked how much of the test was focused on the Agile methodology. And then I know that
it's gone up a lot, yeah.
And I know that this wasn't your guys' fault, because I believe that the handbooks are actually provided by the PMI Institute.
Mhm.
But the handbook that we got to go through with the screenshots of like the PowerPoint were super small, so you couldn't read them. So it was either you were trying to copiously take notes as you were doing it, because you couldn't read. I'm sorry, my hands are. You couldn't read the tiny little picture.
Mhm.
And then at some point in time, they printed out the presentation sort of on a little bit bigger in a packet for us. But then I was having to go back through where I had notes and where I didn't have notes. I think this is how PMI, I guess, how PMI does it. But if the notebook could have had bigger pictures of the presentation, you know, you'd be able to highlight or to maybe add just a few notes, as opposed to, oh my God, I feel like I'm just constantly trying to fill in the blanks so that I have all the information there.
Yeah, for sure. It can be overwhelming to try to take everything in while you're trying to write everything down.
I ran out of ink. I had to get a new pen like halfway through, but I did it.
All right, last question. Is there anything else that you want to share about the training and how it went? Any more feedback that you have?
I appreciated how he emphasized you have 1 minute and 12 seconds per question, 1 minute and 12 seconds. And when I was doing my study hall, I probably did it a little bit different, but I wanted to see, okay, how quickly can I read the question, read through the answers, and what does that time look like? And I never really went above 45 seconds. So I made sure that when I felt comfortable, that was one of my milestones or my what's the word I'm thinking of? Like a
benchmark or
a benchmark. Yeah, thank you. And once I hit that, and I was getting consistently, 75 or higher, then I felt comfortable taking the test. And I actually was in the test. I was there for 2.5 hours, and there was literally nothing more that I could have looked at. And, so I think getting that in my head and knowing that I need to beat that mark, and I was able to get it, half of that really helped. So.
So yeah. Corey, Michael, do you have anything else you want to share about the course?
Yeah, I liked how he brought up and talked about the exam content outline. I don't think I ever would have picked up on that on my own by going through their website or anything like that. If we would have had more time, I think explaining the application process or maybe a little bit in more depth. It was kind of funny. Dan mentioned like, oh, no one ever gets audited. And then like the first 6 people from our company that put applications all got audited. I know he was great. He was like, if you send it to me, I'll read it before. And I don't know if these coworkers of ours did or didn't, run it by him or not first. I do know another coworker, it kept getting rejected. I don't know if she's going to get to take the test. I don't know what was going. And that was something that I didn't even realize would be an issue in terms of, I didn't realize that was that could be such a hurdle to taking the test. Another thing that I didn't realize, I assumed with the Pearson Center is that you could just take it like, whenever, and not realizing that they fill up. Or if you live in an area where there's not very many of them.
Yeah.
So because he was like, I saw your application got accepted. I'm like, yeah. And he said, well, what are you going to take it? I'm like, oh, I'm planning it in the month. He's like, wait, no. He's like, do it. So then I went and looked and I'm like, oh crap, I couldn't do it when I wanted to because it was already full. I had to push it back. So maybe just some more tips and tricks on making sure that, what to do with the application, how it works with the, with scheduling the test. But no, like Catherine said, when I was taking the test between the class, and then I know he did heavily recommend study hall, and we all did like everything within the study hall. I think between those two, as I was taking, like I couldn't think of anything more I could have done to prepare myself.
All right, Michael, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah. So as we said in the beginning, we were so like cramped for time for 4 days, and then it wasn't Dan's fault that he was late the first day because of his flight. That definitely was not his doing. But there was an hour and a half on the very last day where we spent kind of analyzing or just kind of rating Dan's performance. And I feel like that could have been done later and not during the class period. That hour and a half really could have been spent going over questions that he couldn't put in the presentation on the last day. That's just my feedback. I mean, I know that there's a process you guys have to go through, but that last hour and a half could have been, critical for, something else. So.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you guys again for taking your time to give us some feedback. If you have anything else, we'd love to hear it, but that's all we've got for you.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
no, you guys helped me finally get this goal done. So thank you.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do it for years. So thank you so much.
Yes, it is a great feeling. And I'm glad you all got
Yes.
to experience, and everyone at Cherokee's been doing great. I'm
Yeah,
really happy to hear all the reports of everyone taking and passing it.
Yeah, I think we're 11 for 11.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.